We're going up, up, up to the Upper Marae, where stories lift and voices fly. Put your tea towels down, let your worries fade. Open the gates, let the memories cascade. In this podcast world, we give it our best. So grab your cup or come say hi, no jest. We're going up to the Upper Marae, where conversations flow and spirits can't lie.
Welcome to the Upper Marae. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dr. Alexander Stevens II. The gates are now open. In this episode, we're talking about all things Samoan Language Week and what it means to the people that I'm interviewing, as well as future generations. I have one of our special guests at the moment. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Malo lava. I'm Phillip Ma'aelopa. I am the Pacific Research Services Librarian here at AUT.
Malo lava, welcome. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's start off with a nice easy question. So you just got your Masters. Tell everyone, what was your Masters in and what was it that you're actually listening to, that you were specialising in?
So I have just completed my Masters of Archaeological Practice. So it's very specialised to archaeology, but
From which uni?
from University of Otago, and it's a degree that you can use to either get into archaeology, like the field and that sort of stuff, or you could get into the heritage
Right.
space as well. So heritage management and
Is it? I've never heard of this. Is Otago the only one that actually offers the
Yeah.
specific
yeah.
qualification? And is it within the New Zealand context or the international context
So-
or both, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, so that makes sense. But what's good about this degree is that it can be applied anywhere in the Pacific. So
Right.
Aotearoa, Australia, and the broader Pacific as well.
And so for you, what did you decide to focus on, given all the broad topics that you could do, archaeology speaking?
I think for me, because I grew up, I'm Samoan, so I know a lot about Polynesia. I wanted to expand my knowledge, and so I did my dissertation on shell money from the Solomon Islands, and the Solomons being part of Melanesia.
Right.
I've branched out into Melanesia.
When you said I'm Samoan, it made me think of Judith Collins' famous quote of "My husband's Samoan talofa." So,
Yeah.
and so where will this Masters potentially take you? So now that that's done, what are you hoping to do with that information?
So I think at the moment I'm just trying to. I'll probably put it on the back burner for now.
Really?
Only because I want to try and thrive in this space.
Right.
Because I don't really have a library background.
Right.
Like as a kid, I was a big nerd, and so you'd always find me in the library anyway.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
And so, but I guess just trying to see what services Te Mata Puna offers, and then how can I put a Pacific lens or flavour to build that engagement, especially with our Pasifika postgrad and staff.
Well, I still think it's a big achievement. So congratulations! You found out 2 days ago you've passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. When's graduation?
So there is graduation in August.
Do go. Are you going to fly down?
I'm huffing and harring.
Do it, because as you know, I got my Masters from Otago,
Yeah.
my first Masters, I have to think about this, from Otago, and it's a very different experience
Okay.
than AUT, so
Yeah.
I just think do it. Did you ever, was it online or did you have to go down?
So I think my cohort were the only ones that were given the distance option,
Wow.
because I've had a look at it now,
Yeah.
and it's fully in person now.
Oh, well.
So I'm lucky that I took advantage of it when I did.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
shout out to University of Otago.
Yes,
Hey.
yes.
Right, let's focus on the task at hand. Let's talk about Samoan Language Week. What does the Samoan Language Week mean to you and your ainga?
Yep, so I think for me it's a time when we can celebrate our culture. It allows us as well to honour our ancestors and strengthen our identity as Samoans. And I guess that's very important because being part of the diaspora, there is that disconnect between me and my homeland sort of thing. And so language is definitely one of the ways that we've tried to keep that connection.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'll never forget is I went to an event. I went to an event where my friend was a Matai, and as he was talking, even though I don't speak or understand Samoan, I recognised that he was using a much more formal way of talking than, say, someone that wasn't. You know, and I was thinking in Māori that doesn't exist as far as I know, and I wondered if, you know, my own language had been severely impaired, where they took out those different hierarchical languages. And I know that within Tonga, the way that the Royals talk is very similar sounding to Māori than the everyday common tongue.
Yeah.
So for you, you know, thinking about all that, why is it important to keep that Samoan language alive for future generations?
I think for me, I've always had an interest in languages, and I guess within archaeology, you can also use historical linguistics to kind of trace different dialects and stuff. And so
historical linguistics is a great Scrabble word. So unpack that. I'm loving it.
So I guess, for example, if you look at Proto-Polynesian, it branches out. Hold on, let me have a look.
I can confirm he is actually, look, are you now looking up on your thesis? Well, it's good to see your library skills in action. I didn't think you, probably didn't realise it was going to go down this route.
No, I didn't. Okay, so when it comes to Proto-Polynesian, there are two divergents. So you have Proto-Tongic,
right,
and then you also have Proto-Nuclear Polynesian. So Proto-Tonic, that's where you get your Tongan, Niuean, and then from your Proto-Nuclear Polynesian, you get your Proto-Samoic outlier. So you have Samoan, you have Tokelauan, and then you also have other outliners.
Right.
So think of maybe Tuvaluan. And then diverging from Proto-Nuclear Polynesian, you also have Proto-Eastern Polynesian. And so that's where you get Rapa Nui, and then you also get Proto-Central Eastern Polynesian. And then that divides into Proto-Tahitic, so you've got your Māori, Tahitian, Rarotongan, even Tuamotuan.
Yes.
And then you have your Proto-Marquesic. So that's like Hawaii, Manga River, and Marquesan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that on my interest in Polynesian cosmology, you can kind of track. There are some, like Maui is a good example. I can't remember what Maui's name is in Samoan.
So in Samoan, we call them Titi.
That was it. And the idea that of pulling up islands and being able to, because he also did fire too, so like monarching people. So you can track people either through language or storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, there's multiple ways of being able to do that.
Yeah.
So for you anyway, so future generations, so we know the past.
So I guess...
Good going, you've proved that you're an archaeologist. Now, dig up and tell me what does this mean for our future generations?
I guess it's important because it's one way to ensure that our culture, traditions and values are still around long before we're gone. And like I was mentioning before, language is a very important tool for that reason.
Yes.
And so I think for me, that's why it is important to have language weeks.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, I enjoy them. What are some my favourite question? What are some Samoan words or phrases everyone should learn? Because growing up, it was just Sa Vale Vale, and that was it. And then we all looked at each other and thought, okay, that's it. Tick. But actually, what are some key words that you think everyone should use?
Well, okay, just a slight tangent. So
Sure.
in Māori, word is kupu, right? for us, we drop the K and it's upu. Yeah. I guess...
Nice.
I guess, obviously, talofa lava, so hello. Whaawhitai, thank you. For Samoans, we're very big on respect, and so tulo is a big one. And then we also have whamolemole, which is, please. And then a real good one is also wailo ingoa. So what is your name? And I guess these phrases
because ingoa is the same in Māori for name.
Yeah. So these words are simple, but they show how respect helps to connect people, So
is there a particular... So my favourite Tongan word, for example, is hongofulu, so which is the number 10, because all our numbers are similar. So we do tahi, they do taha. Right, rima, nima, but then instead of te ko, they go hongofulu, and I can't remember why it's the most tangent thing.
Yeah.
But when I was interviewing one of my colleagues, Victoria Ongalea, last year for Tongan Language Week, she said te ko is used when they're like counting out mats. So they don't use hongofulu, they do use
That's interesting.
te ko.
Yeah.
So do you have a particular favourite word?
Favorite word?
Yeah. Aside from swearing, that you might use?
Put me on the spot here.
One of my other favourite words in Tongan, I know it's a Samoan language, it's whakaapa, because I just like what it means, which is respect,
Yeah. I think our version of whakaapa is whaaloalo.
Right.
And the thing that you were alluding to with the different hierarchical languages between the Matai and common everyday, we call the chief language ngangana whaaloalo, so the respectful language. And so a lot
Compared
of...
to what?
I don't even know what the...
If you know what I mean?
everyday,
If that's the respectful language, what's the... I don't want to say common or everyday, but you know what I mean? It does make me wonder.
Yeah. I think... I don't know what it's called, but then there's also like a demarcation in how it is spoken. For like example, there are some words that start with a T or have a T in it.
Yes.
But common everyday in everyday lingo, people will drop the T and put on a K.
Right.
And so
that's interesting.
Let me think of an example. One word that I like, if we can go back to that question.
Yeah, sure.
Is
we're going on tangents, so yep.
Is talofai.
Right.
So talofai is kind of like an apology.
Okay, so aroha mai is the Māori version, but you're doing what? Talofai.
Yeah, and so, but a lot of people will swap the T with a and put a K, so it's galofai.
Do you mean, and I'm sorry for promoting Tongan, but Sione Fina, one of my co-hosts, he'd be like, so you know how toko and toko, they replace they replace the T's with the D's. You're saying it's a similar thing, but you're replacing one for the other, is it?
Kind of similar, yeah.
Is that just the common tongue? Is that just language evolving as people kind of shift from homeland to other lands?
Maybe. But I guess, because I've also heard a lot of my family back in Samoa that they tend to drop the T and replace it with a K. And so...
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, language changes anyway, even if you look at, say, the English common tongue, how people spoke, even 50 to 60 years ago, in New Zealand was very much with a British accent. That's now dropped for this disgusting accent that we've got going on. But with the Samoan, I would imagine that language, if you listen to your ancestors, say, 100 years ago, I'm sure it'd be very different to... And if they were to look at you, they'd probably think, what have you done to our language? So, thinking about language, how does language connect people to culture, identity, and belonging?
So I think for me, languages tends to hold stories, values, and ways of being. And so what that means is when people speak their language, there's that strong sense of belonging. And with that belonging, it can also develop a bit of pride in their cultural identity. And so with the importance of language, it helps them to connect not only to their family and community, but also their ancestors, like you alluded to.
Yes.
But I guess they probably would be surprised at how we've evolved or changed the language.
Yes, apparently from the latest research I saw is that roughly 50% of the Samoan dysphoria living in New Zealand cannot hold an everyday conversation in Samoa. While almost 100% of the population in Samoa speaks it, obviously because it is, the common tongue. What do you think that initiatives like Samoan Language Week actually help to keep the language, thriving and going?
I feel like they're a start.
Yes. Great.
But then I guess, and from a personal perspective, like I've used it to reconnect, but then once the week is over, I tend to just revert back to English, and I guess like it would be nice to, because I know a lot of institutions do provide free night classes for people who are working, but I guess like it's a complex issue, because
Sure it is. Yeah, I get that.
Because you can't, like, let's say you're working full time, when are you going to have time to learn another language? And I know for a lot of us living in New Zealand, we went through a stage where, like, for example, my parents' generation, because they would have been first generation New Zealanders, and so because they were going to school, their parents and grandparents would allow them to respond in English,
right,
but still speak to them in Samoan. And so I know a lot of my aunties and uncles tend to, unless they have parents who spoke to them in English and spoke to them in Samoan and wouldn't allow them to speak back in English, then they would have still maintained the tongue.
Right.
But a lot of us weren't.
Yes.
And so a lot of us can understand, but like you were saying, some of us can't hold the conversation.
And now that I think about this, I've always thought that was interesting because I do have friends that can understand Samoan language, so when their parents asking them to do, but they're not sure how to respond back, and in my head I couldn't quite imagine what was happening there because it's the language, but it's the way that we're understanding it. So I think given that kind of leads nicely onto the question around what role do our elders and our ainga play in teaching the Samoan language?
I guess it's a double-edged sword because when you come into a new country, you're expected to learn the ways and customs of the country that you've moved to, and I guess if your grandparents were very adamant about keeping the language alive, then they would be very helpful. And I know, for example, my grandma, she moved over in the 50s, and so she came over in a boat. And because she grew up with her mum, she was very much speaking it speaking it every day. But then as she got older, she kind of lost it. So it was still there, but because she didn't tap into it as much, she kind of lost a bit of the feeling for it.
Right.
And so, but then when she was living with my grandpa for a bit, my grandpa came to stay with her while my family and I moved to Oz. He would always go, no, that's not how you say it. And so he would always helper and corrector.
Right.
And
Right.
so, so it's a very, I guess it depends on the family, like the values. If they want the language to survive, then they will. But if they're wanting to adapt to their new homeland,
Yes.
new home,
Yeah.
then they will opt for, I'll speak to you,
Yes.
but you respond to me in the language of the land, sort of thing.
Where do you fit in? And if this is a personal question, tell me, where do you fit in on your own journey? I'll go first. So on my real journey, if you
Yeah.
had like fluent and beginners, I would say I'd be level 2, so just above. So I can hold, I can go the marae, I can do the whai kōrero,
Yeah.
I can do the hakapapa, and I can throw in a couple of whakatauki, and even a couple of wata, and then that's it for
Yeah.
now. Where do you sit on your own language journey?
I think for me, I would consider myself around the same. Because like you, I can list my villages. Something that I'm looking into is, for Māori, you have pepeha and
Yes.
whakapapa.
Aye.
For us, we don't really have like a set kind of pepeha. But what we do have is a whaalupenga, which is more the matai titles of your village.
Yes.
And so I'm in the process of learning the matai
Yes.
of my villages. And so, but I guess that's just to deepen my own connection with, because I know I've only been back once.
Right.
And I plan to go back, again, very much so. But I guess just learning the whaalupenga and
Yes.
my makai titles, see I
Yes.
did it there, makai titles. That was a bit weird. Cut it out.
No.
So learning the makai of my villages,
yes.
then that will help me appreciate the history of my villages, you know? And so
Because my understanding is, what do we call the respectful language?
ngana whaarualo.
And my understanding is that's kind of, and I'm happy to be corrected here, but my friend Nigel was explaining this is where they do their best to connect these families to these families. These are the connections that we have. So it really is about, well, I would think of it as manaakitanga, you know, and whakawhanaungatanga, bringing relationships that we're not strangers actually. We do have these ancestral
these
connections,
ties,
these ties.
Yeah.
So now that you say this, I actually would then understand how the language might variate, because it would be hospitable and warm and very inviting for people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So an example for the difference between everyday Samoan versus ngana whaalualo. So the word for name, ingoa, but in whaalualo it's wafa.
Ah, interesting. What does it have a different definition, or is it just purely the word in itself just denotes?
I think it's just the word.
I like how we're searching at the same time. You're literally using your librarian skills. Well, let's talk about what about schools and communities? How can they better support the Māori Language Week? So, #MIT offers free Samoan language. I think it's level 1 to 4. I think. From your opinion, as someone who's just recently got their masters, how can schools and communities better support the Samoan Language Week or language learning?
Yeah, I feel like again, it depends on a few things. If the student or if the one who's wanting to reconnect and learn their language, if they have a strong enough desire, then they will go for it. But then if you're someone who may want to, but then don't have the time to, then it won't happen sort of thing. But I guess
I think there's like any kind of commitment though, right? You're either in or out, irrespective of what it is. I know that my own real journey has been one where I've had to face my own sense of embarrassment, but then also remind myself that it's not on me, because we had government try to stop Māori language, and so therefore I shouldn't be embarrassed for something that a colonised system wanted to oppress and stop. My thoughts. And so, when you're talking, I'm thinking, gosh, there's lots of like interconnections with some of that stuff.
Definitely.
Talk to me about some of the challenges that our Samoan people face, in maintaining their language. I know we touched a little bit on that.
I guess, so what we've already mentioned is, with being in another country, where English is the dominant language, there tends to be fewer opportunities for Samoan to be used daily. And I guess, like a lot of younger generations do tend to be very shy about learning their language, and this tends to make them feel disconnected. And then we've also got the busy lifestyles and limited access to learning resources can also make it a bit harder. So
I see what you mean, because it's, I did a plug for MIT, that's in South Auckland, which is in the heart of Polynesia, but what you're saying, if people are living in, I don't know, Kirikiri up north or Tokoroa, it might not necessarily have the same. Fair enough. For you, how does speaking Samoan make you feel connected to your own culture?
I think for me, when I can, it does make me feel proud and grounded, especially because it reminds me of my family. It also reminds me of my heritage and where my ancestors have come from, and it also strengthens my identity, especially as a Pasifika male, who is very proud of being Samoan, even though I've been told by heaps of people I don't look Samoan, and so it definitely gives me that sense of pride.
One of the things that my mate Nigel talks about, when he converses in Samoan and his boys laugh, is that there are certain words that don't translate well, and there are certain words that don't translate well in English, but they have very much a context to it, so it sounds hilarious in Samoan, but not necessarily in New Zealand. So I think one of the things thinking about connected to culture is also humour. It's the same deal in Māori. So instead of swearing, I'll say like, "What the whakatane is this? What the upper?" But to everybody else, but to me, it's a way of kind of making connections.
Definitely.
What about some traditional Samoan values that are carried through language?
There's wha'aloalo, which is respect.
Right.
And then we've also got alofa, love and compassion.
Yeah, I do love alofa.
Yeah.
How do you apply alofa to people?
I guess I feel like I'm an open book.
Boka. What's the Samoan word?
And I feel like I'm pretty sure the Samoan word for book is tusi.
Right. Well, you should know as the librarian. It's part of your job.
But I guess I'm very much one to, and it ties in with the third value of tautua, of service. So one way that I feel I give alofa to people is through service. So how can I help you? I've been a teacher, and that was one way that I gave back to my communities that helped raise me to where I am today. And so
we haven't even unpacked the fact that you're a teacher. I think when they have International Teachers Day, you best believe you'll be on the next podcast. So remind me of the three values. You had alofa, then you had service, which is
tautua,
and then what was the other one?
Wha'aloalo,
which is
respect.
So I can think. So for me, it's teka pono and aroha. So be truthful, apply love, but then also be respectful to others. Again, just it's nice to see how whakapapas trace back. Last question: if you could teach one Samoan, if you could teach one lesson about Samoan culture and language to young people, what would it be?
I guess I would try and teach them that language is more than just words. Like you mentioned, how some words there are context, and that contextual understanding is important. But also, with it just being more than just words, I feel like it's who you are, and so learning and using Samoan should be seen as a way of honoring our ancestors, and so keeping our culture strong and alive for the future is what we should aim for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend, for taking the time, albeit half an hour of your day, to, I guess, have this important kōrero. Do you have any final thoughts or comments? No. Very good. Well, that's us, whānau. We look forward to our next episode where we're interviewing our lion from the Upper Marae as part of Samoan Language Week. The gates are now closed. Thank you, Philip, for your time.
Thank you.
Mauri ora.
Magical